Welcome back to Shed Talk with Kevin Halliday, where we create space for the conversations men usually keep buried. Today, I'm joined with Dustin Hogan, a men's mental health counselor, a TEDx speaker, and founder of Therapy for Dudes. Dustin helps men work through anxiety, depression, anger, stress, self-doubt, relationships, and the pressure to always appear strong. What makes this work powerful is that he speaks to men in a way that understands, directs, honest, practical, and without judgment. This is exactly why Shed Talk exists, to help men drop the armor, open up, and realize strength isn't pretending you're fine. Strength is finally telling the truth. Dustin Hogan, welcome to Shed Talk. Creating curiosity by asking better questions. This is Shed Talk. Dustin, thank you very much for being on Shed Talk. What an honor to have you here. You know what? It's taken us, how long has it taken us to get together?
Months. It's taken us months, back and forth, emails, different people connecting us, EO meetings. So here we are, man.
And you know what's interesting? Because I met you at one of the EO talks, and somebody had said, you know what, you got to talk to Dustin Hogan and get him on your podcast because he's dialed in. And then we met at that conference.
Yep.
And then trying to get everything together.
Yeah, we're here. We're here now. We had a little weather delay before, and now the weather's finally nice outside. So pumped to be here, man. All
right, so let's get right into this.
Yeah.
So what got you into basically doing what you're doing?
So it's been an interesting journey from an entrepreneurial standpoint, which I imagine you can probably appreciate. I mean, I originally went to school for hotel restaurant management, worked in the hotel industry for a while. Then I shifted. I started a landscaping business called The Grass Guy, and this was before marijuana was legal. So I had some interesting phone calls with that company name. Transitioned out of that, was passionate about DJing, so sold my business, moved to Vancouver for audio engineering and DJing. That didn't pan out, so that shifted me into teaching, which then led to speaking and coaching. And then finally, fast forward a number of years later, I decided to go back to school in 2019 for counseling. And then when I launched my practice, my therapy practice in 2021, was all focused in on men's mental health from day one for a couple of specific reasons. I mean, first, I saw that there was a need. I mean, men are just not supported in the ways that I think we need to be supported. And then quite honestly, my journey navigating anxiety and depression over the years. And as a man, feeling like I had to keep it all together, I had to keep everything in. So when I launched my practice, I knew I wanted to serve men in a really, really big way.
So when you look at this, and you talked about all the businesses that you had,
Yes.
and then the grass growing,
Yeah.
so you get all the marijuana. Now, during that time, and a lot of entrepreneurs, and we talk about men's mental health, and you were a young guy.
Yes.
What got you? What was there a shift in time that you actually said, you know what, I'm going to go into therapy. Okay, I'm going to go back to school. But where did that shift come in on as young entrepreneurs going? Then that because you obviously you made it sound easy. You just got pounded, actually, by the sounds of it. All of a sudden, you did this, and then you had to do this. No, they're not easy transitions.
Exactly.
These are things that people, they get knocked down, they get hammered, and we make it sound easy. So let's dive into that, because you understand the therapy side, but then all of a sudden, that side of entrepreneurs or business leaders that get killed on that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, I just described that in a couple of minutes, but that is like a 20-year career and business journey. And quite frankly, I mean, the transitions happened because things weren't working out the way that I wanted them or needed them to. And as the years went by, it beat down my self-esteem, my confidence, my sense of self and who I was. And quite frankly, I mean, for the longest time, I kept it in. I really wasn't talking to friends about it. I wasn't talking to my parents about it. I was suffering in silence, like so many men do. Even though I did have people in my world that were willing to talk about things, for some reason inside of me, I felt like I needed to have it all together. And then it was 2018 where I hit like absolute rock bottom. So this is before I decided to go back to school. I was on the road speaking all across Western Canada, speaking in schools, talking to kids, not about mental health, but about social media and being safe online, which is obviously a very important topic as well. And there was a night where I was actually in Regina, and I'm in my hotel room like all these other nights waiting to speak the next day. And it felt like the weight of the world was coming down on me. And I remember sitting or standing in the bathroom, tears are just pouring down my face, thinking, how the hell am I going to make it through the next 40 or 50 years of my life like this? This is absolute torture. And it was in that moment where there was this quiet voice in the back of my head that said, dude, you just got to keep pushing. You've got to keep pushing forward because your message is going to matter at some point. And there's so many other people out there that need your support. Even though I didn't know what that looked like at that time, I hadn't thought about going back to school. Fast forward a couple more years, made that decision, and obviously it's been a journey since then, but love what I do every single day.
So let's go back to that again.
Yeah.
Because here you are in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You're bawling your eyes out.
Yeah.
Okay. And because it's funny how we actually glaze over that. We go, oh, then I got through this and this. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of men, all of a sudden, sure, we heard the guy on the back of our head saying, okay, go get yourself through it, or the guy on our shoulder saying, oh, it's okay. Oh, I'm just going to forget it. I'm going to ignore it. How did you basically open up to say, okay, I'm okay to move forward?
So it was a long journey from that point. And I came to the point where I said, okay, I need to be fully transparent. I need to be fully open about what's going on inside of me. The ups, the downs, the self-doubt, the massive insecurity. And I'd worked with therapists before that time, but I'd never fully opened up. I'd never talked to anybody about suicidal thoughts that I'd have. I never talked to anybody about the true pain that was going on inside. And in that moment, I made that decision that, okay, when I get back home after this trip, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to be fully transparent, and I'm not concerned with what the repercussions are because I know I need to get this out. And that resulted in an almost 3-hour therapy session with a psychologist in Vancouver when I was living there at the time. And I opened up and shared everything with this guy. And as terrifying as it was one of the most liberating experiences I'd ever had because I didn't have any secrets anymore. I wasn't carrying that burden on my own. And then from that point moving forward, fully opened up with my parents, with my friends, sister, and it was just this slow move to just being open and being vulnerable. Still something I do to this day of taking those steps to be open and vulnerable. I think as a man, it's more difficult than ever, but so important.
So how did you get yourself, to find that therapist in Vancouver? You're there for 3 hours, just finding him. Did you know he was the right one?
I didn't, but I trusted. I don't know, man. It was like some higher power, not to get too woo-woo, but I was also at a breaking point where I didn't know what else to do. So whether or not he was going to be a good fit almost didn't matter because I just couldn't carry that burden anymore. And as it turned out, he was the perfect fit because he was empathetic, he was direct, he was exactly what I needed in the moment. And I still remember that day. I remember walking out of that office and be like, oh my gosh, I don't have any secrets from anybody anymore. And it was so liberating.
So now you've opened up. Mm-hmm. The Pandora box is now opened. You have no secrets. Mm-hmm. Was that a relief to say that you didn't have secrets, that all of a sudden, okay, I don't have any secrets, here I go, and then all of a sudden you can move life forward one more step?
I wish it was that easy,
okay.
Right? I mean, I wish it was that easy, but it was the first step of many steps, and steps that I'm still taking now because I think there's no finish line when it comes to our personal growth. There's always room to grow. But it gave me permission and confidence, I guess I would say, to then open up in a similar way to those that were truly close to me. Because I was scared. I mean, I was scared to share those things with my parents, my sister, my friends. Are they going to judge me? Are they going to think I'm weird? Are they going to think I'm crazy? All of these things that our mind comes up with. But having that initial conversation with this therapist gave me the permission to then open up to others. And then slowly that weight started to lift a little bit at a time, and it just made it that much easier to take steps forward.
Was there ever a dark moment or a dark cloud in that thing saying, okay, I'm going to open up 100%, but I don't want to talk about this? And I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it.
There was fear for sure, but I opened up about everything. There was really nothing left to share. And then by doing that first with this therapist, then doing it with close friends and family, It's created such depth in those relationships because I was willing to do that. But then also vulnerability breeds vulnerability. As I was then open with my struggles, it then encouraged other people in my life to be even more open with theirs. And I mean, I see this every single day with the guys that I work with. You know, they come to me sharing some of their deepest, darkest secrets, but then it creates this positive ripple effect in their lives.
So when you were doing your talks, because you're in schools and you're talking about social media, how it affects people, because it seems like you're talking to social media, like here's your talks, and it's about the health of social media and how it impacts kids and adults and that impact on social media then to where it is like today, how we're changing it. That was the starting point of basically your TED Talks?
In a sense, yeah. I mean, this is prior to me going back to school for counseling, going back to school for therapy. So there was a mental health component to those talks, even though I wasn't trained in it at that point. I'd really only had a kind of a coaching and entrepreneurial background. But that was part of what was happening to me as I was giving such high numbers of talks. Like I was doing 20 to 25 talks a week in front of like 800 to 1,000 kids, 6 talks a day. I mean, you do a lot of speaking, so you know how heavy that workload can be. And so that volume, in addition to the content that I was talking about, which is one of the reasons that it really caused my mental health to take a massive dip. Because a lot of the times I would go into these schools talking to the students about social media because there was a bullying incident on Instagram, let's say, for example, that led to violence in the schools. So it was very heavy topics that I was talking to these kids about, and I wasn't equipped at that time to manage it. And so it was just this negative snowball effect that finally caught up to me.
And it's interesting because you look at guys that do talks, TED Talk guys, and then we're all coming around. And from my experience, all of a sudden, when I look at where I as an entrepreneur, then I opened up in my business, and all of a sudden doing these podcasts, and then watching men open up and have this conversation. And you said it clearly about being vulnerable. That first step of vulnerability, opening up to have that conversation. You didn't have a place for that when you do that many talks. And where do you even talk to other people about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd had some colleagues that had a similar schedule, but I was definitely pushing it very, very hard at that time, with really no downtime whatsoever. And then you throw on the travel on top of all of that. And yeah, I mean, I did 300 talks in about an 18-month period. They
paid you for that, right?
Yes. Yes, that was my business at the time. And I mean, it was cool. I mean, it's cool to go into those schools and, you know, pump the kids up in a lot of ways. But the other side, it was very heavy at times.
And then all of a sudden, so you leave there, because I'm going to go back now as the entrepreneur side, because you look at this, people to get into talks and doing talks, and you're doing that many. You found the niche in the social media side. So you've got that social pipeline, what I'm going to call is the revenue stream.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that revenue stream. Now you've gone back to school and giving up that revenue stream.
Yes.
Just to help out on the mental health side of you?
Yeah, so both my mental health, but then obviously to get the training to start a whole new business and a whole new career. But to your point, yeah, I went from all of this revenue, all of this work to that being finished. And now I'm back to school at mid to late 30s. That was a kick to my ego as well. And so that really impacted my sense of self, my confidence. As much as I was loving school, it was like, where's this going to go? You know, I'm blessed with where my practice is right now. But 6 years ago, when I was first starting, it was like, are people even going to want this? Are men going to be willing to have conversations and to seek therapy? So there was that middle ground where I didn't exactly know that it was gonna be a success or not.
So where's that transition? Okay, so here you are, you're doing your last talk. Obviously, you're playing it in your head. You got the demons behind you. You got the guy on your shoulder saying, okay, no, you're no good. You're no good. Okay, yes, you're opening up. You've talked to your therapist 2.5 hours, your family, friends, your girlfriend, whoever's in your life. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I've got to change. And what was that moment like? Because did you always want to be in the therapist side? Counseling?
No. So, I mean, it was something that I maybe was naturally drawn to without realizing it, as a lot of people would say, man, you know, I love talking to you, or it's easy to talk to you. But, you know, I'm mid-30s now. I'd already made 4 career changes. Am I going to make another one at that point? So there was a lot of self-doubt until the world almost forced the decision on me. And then from day one, it was full tilt.
So what's a force? What do you mean by forced onto you?
So that experience that I'm talking about in that hotel bathroom was probably 6 to 12 months before I made the decision to go back to school, where I recognized that I was getting pushed in such a way that this wasn't sustainable over the long term. I know I'm called to help and to support. I just didn't know exactly what it was going to look like at the time.
All right, hit that button, subscribe, and now let's get back to the show.
And my mental health reached such a point where I stepped back from the speaking, not knowing what the next steps were going to be. And then all of a sudden, this counseling college that I'd looked at 2 years before, I randomly get an email from the president of the school. Hey, we've got an open house. I've been following your work. I think you would be a great fit for our school. I'd like you to come check us out. So on a whim, I went and checked it out. And within a week, I made the decision to go there. So it was like all of these things needed to happen, where it was this serendipitous moment of things lining up with beyond my planning, beyond anything I could have planned.
So now you're in the school.
Yeah.
You're working hard, doing your due diligence, knowing, and what I call as the entrepreneur, because once you've been fed dog food, okay, and then now you get steak as an entrepreneur, you never want to go back.
Yes.
So here you are. Now you've gone through it. Now it's like, all right, am I going to work for somebody or am I going to do it myself?
Yeah.
How did that play out in your head?
So I knew from day one that I wanted to have a private practice. I wanted to build my own thing. I enjoyed the landscaping business, the DJ work that I had built, the speaking business. So I, had the business entrepreneurial bug in mind. So from day one of that program, my vision was always building a practice, a solo practice. I didn't know it was going to be called Therapy for Dudes at the time. I just knew I wanted to work with men. And then halfway through the program, it was just about a 2-year program, ended up navigating a divorce. And that rocked my world in ways that I could not imagine. Because here I was now going through this school journey, ready to launch this new business. And my marriage, this relationship of 13 plus years, literally imploded overnight. And once again, it sent me to the depths of mental health, from suicidal thoughts to depression to anxiety. And at that point, I'd been such a lone wolf trying to figure stuff out on my own, other than some of the therapy work that I was doing. But that experience rocked my world so much, it forced me to lean on other people in my life, like in a real big way. Friends, family, my cohort. And they carried me at times that I didn't think that I would be able to carry myself. But the beautiful thing now, looking back at it, those experiences have set me up to be able to do this work right now. So navigated this divorce, finished the program, moved from Vancouver back here to Calgary to be close to family, launched my business, launched my practice. There have been many hard days, but where we're at right now is a pretty exciting spot.
So you look at it and you mentioned, so a lot of men all of a sudden changing. You had your family carry you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a man out there right now and he's going through turmoil in his head, and you use the phrase carry. Mm-hmm. And then they're thinking, what is carry? Like, what do you mean by carrying? What do you mean by support? What is that?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, they carried you, they helped you. Did they pick you up? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, and I'll just speak to it from my perspective. So yeah, literally carried me where, there were days I was in tears that I couldn't get up or I couldn't get out of bed. Carrying the emotional weight with me of now I'm questioning, the last 13 years of this relationship and feeling like a failure and feeling embarrassment and shame and, thinking that my family's going to feel shame when that's the last thing that they're going to feel. But that's what I thought they would. And so, being able to share that with them allowed them to carry some of that burden as well. And just being able to talk things through with my mom, my dad, sister, close friends, and have them just listen, not try to fix, not try to solve, but just truly empathetically listen to me. That's what carried me through that, because then it gave me confidence and strength to put one foot in front of the other and then the next foot in front of the other. And dude, at 37, 38 years old, I moved back in with my parents for a couple of years as I navigated this divorce and launching this new business. And, you know, maybe initially that's something I would have been embarrassed to talk about, but now it was like one of the best experiences I ever had, like waking up and just chatting with my mom, chatting with my dad, watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune at night with them, you know what I mean? And then so that's what I mean when they carried me, and I can feel the emotion now as I'm talking about it, is just that support is something that I wouldn't have been willing to lean into before. But once again, life forced me to, because I couldn't pull myself through it and needed to rely on the support of other people, because that's what I've done for others. And why wouldn't they do it for me in those moments of need?
So here you are, and I'm going to go back to the carrying moment.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty powerful, because when you think about this, here's a guy, I'm coming up to you and I want to talk. What is the one question when you're at your lowest? Because a lot of men will ask, well, what do I say? Like, here's my buddy in the depths in his head. How do I say anything to him? Like, what would be one question that someone, yes, you want them to listen, don't interrupt. We get that. And you said that your parents just to be there to listen. But what would be the one thing for someone just that notices to be there, to carry you? What's that question that they would ask you or not?
I think it's simple as just as simple as like, how are you doing? Like really? And when they give the initial surface level answer, like a lot of dudes do, I'm fine or I'm good, right? Kind of this BS that the initial thing that we say is, how are you really doing? And then just sit in silence and allow them to speak on their own timeline. I think sometimes we try and force men to kind of talk too quickly, but it's that holding that space, holding that silence, and just letting them open up. Something as simple as like a quick text check-in. Dude, you were on my mind. I just wanted to check in with you. I cannot tell you how good that feels. I mean, you probably know how good that feels because you've probably received those texts. So sometimes like simplicity is the key. I think we try and overcomplicate things with guys. It's like a simple check-in is going to go a long way.
So you used a word, and I hear this word all the time. And I don't know if it's overused or not overused, or if it is the right word. Really. Okay? It's kind of like, how are you feeling? Really. Is that like a key word? They say, okay, like, how are you feeling? No, really. Oh, okay. So it's okay for me to open up harder. So tell me a little bit more about that word. Really.
Well, for me, and once again, I'll just kind of speak for myself.
Correct.
It gives permission, because I think it's a politeness to just say, how are you doing? What's going on? Those kinds of things. But to have that one step further gives that permission to share at a deeper level. And then once again, holding that space, holding that silence, and giving that space to then be able to share with whatever's coming up. And then the other key piece is not trying to fix, right? If a friend comes to me and they're sharing all of this stuff, if I'm jumping in and trying to fix their problems, well, there's not a whole lot of empathy in that. Ask permission. Do you want solutions here, or do you want me to listen to you? That's also a good thing that I find is supportive as well.
And it's interesting because I use that word really, and it's all of a sudden you say that to somebody, then they perk up, they go, oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Well, it's a pattern interrupt, right? Yeah, like exactly.
So I want to now, which is really powerful, as you get into your TED Talk. So let's dive into the TED Talk, because when you look at it doing a TED Talk, and then you're in the mental health side of it, let's dive into that and how important it was for you to do the TED Talk.
I mean, it was huge. I mean, you've done one yourself, incredible talk that you delivered. And for me, the whole journey of writing it, editing it, rehearsing it, flying to Vancouver for the entire week to rehearse with all the other speakers. My parents flew in for it. Friends from Vancouver were there. And then, you all of a sudden, it's a curtain call and you're up on that red dot in front of the bright lights. And all of these rehearsals come down to that moment in time. And I don't know about you, but for me, I'd been writing and practicing that talk in my head for probably a decade. And then it finally came down to that moment. And in my talk is very personal. I mean, I talk about that moment being in that hotel room and tears coming down my face and just how heavy of a moment that was. So to be able to deliver it that day, Yeah, I mean, I still get chills thinking about it.
And it's interesting because we call it, because with our shed talk and going in there, we call it the shed effect.
Yes.
And everybody gets together, and it's interesting. We do a talk, we do a book, or we do a signature talk, and we go in there, and then people come up to us and they say, hey, that's a great talk. You really inspired me. You moved me. And then we talk about men's movement. So I'm going to get your opinion on this because I look at it like, here we are doing the shed talk. Then we have the shed effect. And we want to create where men, we have a great speech and we've all been there. And then all of a sudden that one moment in time, yeah, that was awesome. But the call to action the next day and the next day, sure, was nice, but everybody forgot about it. And we talk about movement, like men's mental health is coming up in June here. And then all of a sudden it's great for the men, it's self-awareness. But how do we do that all year round and then keep it? Or do you find that it comes and goes?
I think it comes and goes, but we're doing it right now, right? Yeah. We're having a very real conversation. People that are going to listen to this in their car, at the gym or whatever, right? That keeps it top of mind. I know for myself, I'm a very visual guy, so I've got little sticky notes around my condo that remind me to be focused in on certain things or to reframe certain thoughts. It's like going to the gym. I mean, you don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong for the rest of your life. You've got to continuously do it. And so whether someone does go to therapy or coaching, they're listening to podcasts like this, it needs to be that constant reminder. And I think finding the approach that works for you and then doubling down on it, to me, that's the key. And one of the things I've built into my therapy practice is it's not just about having the conversations. After every one of our sessions, I send a follow-up email with the action items that they're going to be working on in between our sessions. So that accountability piece, I find for men especially, is so, so important. Talking about it is important, but it's only one ingredient in the recipe. Working on things consistently, that's the key.
And it's interesting because consistency and working on it, accountability, and as a man going in there, we need that accountability. We need to be there and then keep on it because we talk to ourselves and lie to ourselves in our heads so much and everything that. All right, one thing that you want to say to your fellow listeners out there and all that, is there one thing that's being missed right now that you recognize? Or don't?
Part of our chat here, and even part of my TED Talk, is taking that first step. I think for guys especially, taking that first step and saying, I'm not okay, I know for me was the most difficult piece. I can tell you that every single week when I meet with new clients, a lot of the times they'll say, reaching out is the hardest thing that I've ever done. So whether that's to a counselor, a therapist, a coach, a friend, a mentor, someone random on the street, like, taking that first step and just saying that I'm not okay is so, so important, especially as men, because it's going to set us up for the next step and the step after that. But taking that initial step, as difficult as it is going to be so important.
That is awesome. All right, how do people find you?
All over the internet, just like you. Therapyfordudes.com is my website. On Instagram at I am Dustin Hogan or at Therapy for Dudes. Obviously my TEDx talk on YouTube as well. Just type in Dustin Hogan, and always happy to chat with people, whether it's, pointing them in the right direction or just having an open conversation. Like, I love this work. I love supporting people. I love supporting men. So don't hesitate to reach out.
I thank you very much for being here, because the honesty and opened up, because when having a therapist in here and counseling and coming in here and saying, let's talk about it this way versus, oh, here's how we're doing it. I really appreciate that, man. And it opens up. And welcome to Shed Talk. You know what? I want to tell everybody, hit the like, subscribe, do that button. And you know what, Dustin? Thanks for coming on Shed Talk.
Thanks, man. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Now you know. Shed Talk.